Hans, I'd like to ask you, what stood out to you from the president's speech?
Well, there was really something, Erik, for everyone in this speech. The focus, of course, was on nuclear security, on reducing the arsenal, and he had this call, this plea, this pledge towards the Russians that he would go ahead and reduce ours if they joined him. But what he was really focusing on is this nuclear aspect of it. But there really was quite a bit else in there. A little bit on climate change, a little bit on gender equality, a little bit on the economic situation throughout Europe. Let's listen, though, what the president had to say on the nuclear issue.
For we are not only citizens of America or Germany, we are also citizens of the world. And our fates and fortunes are linked like never before. We may no longer live in fear of global annihilation, but so long as nuclear weapons exist, we are not truly safe.
Now, part of being a citizen of the world, the president did take some incoming from Chancellor Merkel, specifically on the NSA prison program and what the U.S. is doing in terms of listening in or potentially not listening in on cell phone conversation. What was remarkable was just how clear the president was in describing this whole program. But eventually he said that this has stopped terrorist attacks, up to 50, he said, including here in Berlin. Let's take a listen.
This is not a situation in which we are rifling through, the ordinary emails of German citizens or American citizens or French citizens or anybody else. This is not a situation where we simply go into the internet and start searching any way that we want. This is a circumscribed, narrow system.
Erik, I know the discussion back in Washington today is on the Fed and just reading tea leaves and how the Fed might be adjusting its policy. You heard a little bit from President Obama in that press conference with Merkel about maybe changing some of the growth versus consolidation policies here in Germany based on current trends. The president mentioned youth unemployment. I heard a little bit more flexibility from the president trying to urge Merkel to actually spend a little bit more if, as the president said, conditions warrant.
I'm glad you brought up the austerity growth debate, Hans Nichols. We all remember 5 years ago the speech that President Obama gave in Berlin. He was treated like a rock star, greeted by hundreds of thousands, very popular. What is it like there now? What has the reception to him been, given the fact that all of these scandals have hit in the last few weeks?
Well, the crowds are smaller. There's no doubt about that. I wasn't with the president, then Senator Obama, on that initial trip. The crowds are certainly smaller, but there are security concerns as well. They've basically walled off this entire area where the president spoke. The president was speaking behind bulletproof glass, so there are some security concerns. I do have to say, as someone that travels in a lot of motorcades with him, there were people lined up last night when the president landed, waving him, wishing him well. That's not something we see that much more anymore. So perhaps his popularity globally has declined a little bit, but it seems to have held at least to some extent in Germany.